Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in on how to get over the anger after you have really discovered that you're in a toxic or manipulative relationship. You're really at your wit's end. You're at the end of the rope. You're feeling like you've done everything you can to impress, take care of, love and support and nurture this individual, yet no matter what you do, nothing seems to work. You find that you're always getting really sort of the outside corner of the deal in the relationship. In other words, you feel like this person is never really fully present. When we talk about being in relationships with someone who is toxic, we're talking about being in a relationship with someone who is weak. There is a weakness. There's a flaw or a negativity of character. There is something that is luring us down into the lower vibrations of this relationship, causing us to stop in our tracks and have to overanalyze what is taking place in the relationship. Someone who is manipulative is very much like that. It is a pattern interrupter. Someone who is truncating or getting you to control an outcome of your relationship that serves them but then depletes you. And so when we talk about the anger that ensues, oftentimes it's coming out a sense of feeling futile, feeling worthless, feeling helpless, feeling like I can't turn anywhere else. There's an anger brewing. And as you know, if you've been with me for some time here on the Peace and Harmony channel, that we talk about the healing tools here, and we do need to go into a little bit more in depth and always recap the healing tools that I'm setting forth in a book, so you can have it all in one organized place. And it is a process, but we're going to look now at the anger and understand. I feel it's very important to understand the cause that's created this effect in the relationship and not get stuck in the anger at this person. Because people who hold grudges, who constantly focus on the label of a personality disorder, who are trying to pick them apart, they're getting caught up in trying to understand and then blame this individual. And oftentimes this can be with seething anger. Seething anger keeps you stuck in that energetic vibration of lack. In other words, here's what we're missing. Here's what's wrong with us. Here's what's wrong with the picture. So all you're doing is focusing on the problem. And when we look at the law of attraction, what you focus on grows. So if you want to manifest positive, healthy relationships, even relationships that you didn't think that you could attract or be comfortable with, that is part of the growth process. So that's part of the upward, movement of your soul essence. It is to understand that to get there, to get to the good life where you're attracting people who are healthy, who can meet you where you're at on your path. It's to say that, okay, I don't want to stay stuck in the anger and sort of what I call the boxing ring in relationships with someone who is manipulative. When we're talking about someone who is manipulative, a malignant narcissist, a psychopath, someone who is basically putting on a front, a persona of a big tough girl, a big tough guy, a cavalier business owner, a female actress, whatever it is, their persona, they're the gifted pianist, who's a child prodigy or the child prodigy in math, and they just rise up in the ranks so quickly. They're super talented at a sport. Whatever it is that this person feels is setting them apart from others gives them the sense of entitlement to essentially use this facade in relationships and use it to play others to get what they want. And in the beginning of the relationship, like we're saying, unbeknownst to you, you didn't know that this was not in your best interest when you're surrounded by these people who kind of are maybe the life of the party. They might take the pressure off of a social gathering. In other words, they're the loud, they're the people who are getting the drunk, they're the people who are playing the piano, they've got the loudest laugh, the people who, might be flashing their pictures and no one else is included. They're closing themselves off. They seem to be whispering in a hush. A lot of this is, based on creating that sort of exclusivity. In other words, we are the it and everybody else is outside. So there's this creation of an inside-outside. And when we talk about someone who is manipulative, they control this like a gate. And so it's the people who are being played by these people are always wondering what lever they need to do to open up the gate. Am I in? Am I out? Can I stay in? What do I need to do? So people then try to become a people pleaser or adapt and adjust or put up with the tyranny or the rule of this individual. In other words, they bask in their glow. They just seem to hang around. But the problem is that you have to become essentially like a puppet. You end up sacrificing your own free will, your own input, really what I would call your potential in what can also become your life purpose, your mission, your positive self-esteem. Everything else can literally go out the window when you are around these people who want to take the limelight for themselves. And these people that I'm talking about, they might be physically, push their weight around. They might use their voice. They might use their whatever it is, but they're letting you know that they're the boss and everyone else is the underling, the pawn. This is a drive some people have. What I found though, that oftentimes these people click very well with people who have a big heart, big empathy, love to be there and nurture through thick and thin, through all the seasons, through all the celebrations. These are the people who, they're not there just to impress. They're there to be in a genuine relationship. Not everybody enters into this relationship in the same manner. Not everybody has this approach. And to understand someone who is manipulative is to understand that someone is not fully present or not able to give you, spill the beans, be open and honest with you. There's always something secretive or that is hidden by a manipulator. And they're using then your occasions to create and foster this illusion or this persona that they want you to buy into. But yet, the problem with this is that when you then basically, I say, you begin to give up or drop your guard down and just feel the sense of helplessness that perhaps it is best to give this person power. That's how you show respect. That's how you show love. That's how you're present for them. So people end up getting inextricably their boundaries and their boundaries violated and enmeshed and their standards lowered and reduced to being a less than individual. So they're not able to be sort of at eye level with these people. Whether it's looking down, whether it's pushing down, talking down, there is a lot of this at play. And the problem is when people then begin to just swallow this and, not deal with it directly, being silent or not having somebody, say, hey, knock it off, stop saying that at the table, stop texting this. There's not, a sort of a mediator, a big brother, a big sister who can go in and say, hey, stop that. There is a vacuum of authority or guidance or structure. This is basically mayhem. This is engineered chaos. This is dysfunction. And the manipulation, though, oftentimes if there is a lot of this chaos and this dysfunction, the narcissist, even though there's this insecurity and it's really they feel a lack of self-love, which is the overcompensation of such, it is oftentimes these people who just seem to go through unscathed because whatever it is, there's a mask, there's a persona that's going to carry them through until eventually at one point it will crumble. But there's an anger oftentimes that can be created once you have felt, at the end of your rope and betrayed as such. A manipulator wants to take control. So it's very important in healing that I feel is to understand the cause that's created this effect. So it is really understanding people, and it's also getting to know the human mind. This is not easy stuff. This is a little bit complicated. This is super deep stuff. This has taken me several decades of learning and studying and working with people. And then this, of course, is my passion. So this to me is my language of love that I speak to assist others to understand the cause that's created this effect of either the anxiety that's plaguing them, the suffering, understanding why these defense mechanisms have propped themselves up and why you feel the way that you do, and able then to soften it up and then mellow it out or bring it up so that you can be in balance once again. So it is to understand that the negativity that these individuals cause is basically finding a place in you that has a bit of weakness. In other words, it's like a vulnerability. It's as if, someone were trying to hack into some sort of system and they find a vulnerability in the code. So that's really what hackers do. So really that's what a manipulator does. That's what someone who is malignant, narcissistic, or psychopath does. They find your weakness. They find your hot buttons. If you don't have one, they will create one for you. And oftentimes there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. In other words, they can be chameleon-like, and then they kind of shift into these different personality types. There's oftentimes an instability or a lack of continuity between these masks. And to try to keep up with it oftentimes is very exhausting to people. And people get so exhausted that they can't sort of take time to reassess within themselves what they need to do and have that healthy discourse, because someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic, basically textbook, they'll tell you what you want to hear. And they will also, begin to have you think that, if you're leaving, it's because you're really not good enough. There's something about you that, can't make it. And so there's this insecurity that they are projecting onto the supply, which the supply then takes on as their own, but it is not their own. So we call this basically taking on another's energy or another's negativity or toxicity. As you grow in your healing journey, it's very important for you to identify when these negative feelings come up and to understand what is negative and what is positive, what feels good and pleasurable versus what does not feel good and is forceful or fear-based. Now, the narcissist is oftentimes very fear-based because they're always trying to jockey up, in my mind, to get the best, to be the best, to be the one who's whatever it is, the hustler, the one with the motorcycle, the girl with the, flashy clothes, or the sex appeal, or, she can just melt, men, even though she's married, and, this is supposed to be like a funny thing. And, but eventually others will be in their downfall. And so sometimes that can be a support when you meet these people. However, it's to understand what is pain and then what is true peace and harmony. To understand what is fear and then what is unconditional love in the quantum field. So when I talk about the energy, we're really talking at a very large scale. And so when you look at it in that big picture, you're able to put things in perspective to help you gain responsibility. And then bring it into the chest where you can really kind of look at and answer yourself and give yourself that find that little internal flame that's a glow that is a feel-good place. Oftentimes very difficult to find when you're in the mess. So when we look at this, this cause and effect, someone who is manipulative will have you being in a specific role, which unconsciously or perhaps even consciously then you agree to, but it comes very stifling and rigid, especially if you don't have the ability to speak your feelings and have them received energetically at the other side and have this clear exchange. So it's very difficult to have a clear flow and a give and take where there's no blockage with a person who has a mask, with someone who has a persona, with someone who has a wall built, with someone who has tension, with someone who has unresolved issues, anger issues, feeling, that there is something about them that they need to always prove and impress themselves. These people can be exhausting. you can't really let your hair down. You can't really relax with these people. You're always on edge. So this, then, though for some people, this will feel like, well, this is what the life of, this is what life is about, is to always be, trying to up and up, but really, when you look at happiness, it is a chronic feeling good state. So in other words, pleasure is being able to satisfy your empty stomach. Pleasure is being able to feel something soft. Pleasure is, quenching your thirst. Happiness, though, can undergird all those. So even though something traumatic happens, if you have the foundation of happiness and self-esteem in the quantum field, and really getting there by what I call the astralmations, then you're always going to be at the beck and call and the whim of events and people in your life. And especially if you've been around manipulators, you're going to find yourself always a match to this instability, because this is what you are attracting, like a magnet to steel. Now, realize that a magnet to steel and attraction is created when there is a host. So it's like, some sort of pest or whatever you call it, a fly that's attracted to garbage. So the garbage is a host, or is there, which creates the fly. The flies didn't create the garbage. Okay, the garbage is, and then it's an energetic match to that fly. It's very important to then understand if there's a weakness then inside of yourself that's been broken down, wounded, which causes you to feel dissociated, or not be able to be in social situations and feel comfortable. You feel shy, you feel ashamed, you feel that there's something wrong with you, or because you've been so scolded, or you've had issues with your family where you weren't given eye contact, love, holding, touch, things of this nature, where your feelings weren't validated and worked through. Kids are like little squirming mechanisms. If you look at a mother holding a baby, a cute, adorable baby, their muscles are going all over the place, and they're learning to walk, and their eyes are learning to focus. To try to control that, is basically to try to take away somebody's free will. That is manipulation. So there's guidance, there's shaping, there's nurturing, there's giving loving sounds, there's giving quiet caresses. So that creates the energetic vibration, and then the boundaries and standards. Now, when you're with someone who is manipulative, they're really sort of playing on that wounded sort of, area of you, and then making it larger. So, the relationships can then continue on for so long, but this explains then the cause why some people then tend to attract or be attracted to the same type of individual or perpetrator or violator. In other words, I love the great saying, it's the same gal in a different pair of shoes. It's the same guy in a different pair of pants. In other words, it's the same guy, who is narcissistic or psychopathic or disrespectful or emotionally unavailable, and I'm always attracted. We always seem to have this chemistry. It's because the chemistry within you is connecting with the chemistry in that individual. So it becomes an energetic and a chemical match. So it's very important, if you want to come out of that anger, is to say that, getting angry at this individual is to really, actually is an exercise, what I call an exercise of futility. You're screaming upon deaf ears, when really the conversation, that loud conversation, that stern conversation, needs to then ignite and become really like the flame of passion which is in your heart. But you need to have the tools to redirect the energy. And so it's to really let go of the violations of the past. So people hold on to these for years and decades like a rope. And we have viewers who are asking a lot about, crystals and working with, and I talk about in my book, the resensitizing yourself and really kind of awakening up your senses, especially as they are on the feel-good focus. When we talk about negativity that breeds that anger, that fear, that hostility, things aren't resolved. It's a holding on to that negativity. You're holding on like a rope. And I love this. This is a raw black tourmaline from Brazil. I don't know if you can see the texture. I don't know. Are we showing this here? Can you see? I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I'm doing this because viewers have inquired about it. But this is called raw black tourmaline. It's from Brazil. It's got beautiful striads, and it has, the way that it's grown, the matrix is very much like a rope. And this, to me, so this is going to help extract a lot of the negativity in the energy fields. It's going to take a lot of the energy and pull it out in a way out of you and process it out of your environment. So this is a really great stone to work with. This is a black tourmaline log. So when we talk about the negativity, that is basically a similar term for toxicity, meaning it is creating and allowing that negativity to be stuffed down and encased within you. Basically, the stomach, the forehead, the neck, your back, your armoring up. This is the anger. It's the feeling, and then the anxiety, the feeling, like you're in an uncomposed state, a decomposed state. So that's like that negativity once again. This is very important to understand because this also releases cortisol, the adrenals, the fight or flight neurochemicals, which cause, your face to do crazy things, and you feel like, you're hyper vigilant, or you're just not in your body. You're not in a cool, calm, relaxed, peaceful, and harmonious body. This is created from the holding on to all that negativity and wanting to resolve it with the wrong source. If you're trying to resolve this, oftentimes with a perpetrator, you're trying to get healed by someone who is wounding you. So you're looking for that closure. So really, it's very important and interesting to focus on the concept of letting it go. Letting it go. Not holding on to that anchor, that trauma bond from the past, but allowing yourself just to come into the present moment. It's an energetic change or shift of energy where your body can be uncrossed. You're not twisting yourself all up into this, and your feet are crossed and your ankles are crossed, your legs, you're doing this to your face, you're hiding yourself. These are all like nervous reactions. You're trying to close off your body. Your body is not open. And so the problem, maybe you've been open to all the wrong negative energy, and it's to then understand that this violation energy can create a lot of anger, which is hostility and a desire to release the negativity. And so it's very important for you to let it go, especially as it relates to this person, and not feeling like you have to have an energetic exchange where you let them know, that they messed around with the wrong person and that you've done them wrong and you've wasted years of my life and I put this on my Amex and whatever. Stop. Okay, because all you're doing is pouring more kerosene onto that whole abomination. You're living in the problem. You're neurochemically staying in the problem, and you're not healing through it. You're not allowing yourself to let go and come to the present, where your healing is going to be, where you're learning, you're speaking in more of a clear tone. You've got flow back. You're not afraid about what other people do or say. It just does not bother you because you can't be judged. The energy, once you look into your chest and your heart and you come out of that fear, which is like all in your head and in your gut, you're missing, that really important area of your spinal column to be sending out positive messages, feel good messages. And so it's very important, I believe, for you to have a visualization of what this anger looks like. You need to have a visual picture. For me, it might be like seeing somebody on the Jerry Springer show. Do you remember back in the day? It might even be present day for all I know. But remember the Jerry Springer show where he'd have these fighting couples. They'd be picking up chairs. They'd be flipping tables. They'd be yelling. They'd really be in hysterics. That to me is not a good look. I don't want that to be me. To me, that's a negative deterrent. That is not me. So for me to feel like I'm going to battle a manipulator and telling them to stop is just feeling the fire. So you need to realize the way out is to come back within yourself and to exit that negative energy and clear out that negative energy pockets from within yourself so that violator energy cannot live within you. If you have emotional garbage within you, you're going to attract the psychological flies. You're going to attract, the psychological narcissists, the psychopaths who are getting in those crevices. So you really need to be fully embodied 100% in the commitment and understanding that you are not only that you're not going to be angry, even though it might be the forgiveness of all, forgivenesses. It might be the holiest of holies where you are big enough, even though you've been used and abused. Myself, I have worked and, created new products, given away intellectual property that has created multi-million-dollar ad campaigns. I've done taglines. I've done new product, creation of the product itself, the design, new product design, the way that food is prepared and sold at fast food restaurants. I mean, into the billions. And I did this basically out of the goodness of my heart in my creativity back in the day, several years ago, where I wanted to participate in this. And I was in that, phase of my life. Now, I could be angry and I could say, well, this company took advantage of me. But yet I willingly entered into the proposition. I said, I will sign away my intellectual property. And then if you want to use this, then it's all for the greater good. So if you know me and you've been in my channel, I'm all about the greater good. And I do the best that I can to assist and support in that arena. So looking at the anger, it is to understand that it has to blow out somewhere. But so it's very important, I feel, to get an image of what the anger looks like. Is it you yelling? Is it slamming doors? Is it having an ugly face? Is it, moping around? What does that look like? And get a feeling of what that looks like. If you could cut out, pictures. I mean, there's all sorts of exercises, but to get your anger out, some people say yell on a pillow. Okay, that's a vocalization. But if you really want to get to it, if you were to take some scissors and go into a magazine and cut out all the shapes, the colors that anger would represent, what would it look like on a piece of paper? This is a very good exercise for you to do. It helps you to get it out of your system, out of your subconscious. This is really what the recovery journal is about, is it's getting all that anger out and letting it process. And it's 3 pages of longhand writing in the morning, every morning. If you need to get up 45 minutes early, get your coffee going early, get your recovery journal, a notebook, and just write out whatever comes to mind. If it's la 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 la, then let it be la 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 la. If it's ay 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 ay, then whatever. If it's I need to do this, I need to do that, I want to do this, just let it flow. You're developing a relationship with that part of you that wants help and which is positive and is part of that inner flame. So getting out the anger in that method is very effective. So that's a couple ideas. And then also, I want you to understand then what makes me feel better is. What makes me feel good is. What really causes me to feel peace and harmony is. What creates peace within me. What I'm really attracted to, but what I'm secretly, ashamed to admit is I really love. And you might say, I love watching sports or funny movies or just sitting and meditating or just looking at a burning candle for a while, just sitting in the peace and quiet, reading the newspaper, getting ink all over my hands, doing some painting or some clay work. So what I secretly love doing but have not done in a while is, and this is your inner flame. And when you ask yourself this question, I want you to put your head down and look into your chest. That's where your energy is going to reside. That's like your treasure chest, if you ask me. And your legs, of course, are connected. So once you start to really look in your chest, is like where your answers are. It's like your go-to little pilot light is right in there. Your little Bunsen burner is always a glowing. Your little Spiro that's keeping the food warm, it's always right there. You can always ask your heart. And so it's very important then that once you do that, you'll see that you have a very gentle, kind voice that is there to guide you. And this can really connect you to the highest creator and the source. This is where the channel is coming in through. And then to accept this and to know and accept this lovingly, and to know that the universe then, once you begin to release and let go and then open up to something more softer and smoother, that is, radiant and glowing and smoother like this. This is a rose quartz. You can feel the energy of this stone. It has this unconditional love that it generates from it. You can get bigger pieces as well. You can get little pieces like this of rose quartz, which you can hold in your hand and you can read with like this. You can twirl around in your hand and just gaze at the beauty and the softness of this beautiful magnetic glow that is created by the creator. This is not created by man. Man does not make this. This is created by the earth. So you're connecting to source energy and then the energy. So you can hold on to two and then feel that love as it comes through you. And then remember that look of the anger. And are you holding on to it? Are you holding on to all this negativity and this darkness? Or are you resonating this in your hands? What is flowing through you? So, there is so much you can do, and then you can work into other, like this is a green quartz. It's amazing the way, and it has, this is from China, and I think it's a garden quartz, but this is a natural quartz. It's really interesting, but this has a lot of growth, kind of like chamomile energy. So it's very wonderful to work with. So it's very important for you to resensitize yourself and then get yourself an image kind of what it looks like when things are out of control, and then really ask yourself what feels good and see if you can kind of see a difference, a before and after, and then begin to opt more and follow up little by little, step by step in that positive, orderly direction thinking. See how many times you're tempted to go back. I'm angry. I'm and let it go little by, shred by shred. That's what I love about this, is it's almost like, have you ever had venison meat? How it's like kind of stringy. You let it go string by string by string by string. Sometimes you might only have a couple strings. Other times you let go the whole knot. Do not let yourself get caught up in knots. Release your anger and begin to do what feels good. And don't worry about letting those people go. They will be fine. It's time to crown yourself with the glory of your happiness and let it guide you and let it manifest what you are seeking. And really surprise yourself. You'll see how accepting and how gentle your growth will be. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony.